Travis Wayne Goodsell. In the millennial generation of the 2000s, our school kids were taught in a different manner. Psychos, literally psychos for psychologists, had deceived the school boards in charge of establishing curriculum and teaching methods to implement an human experimental on children, human experimental process called positive affirmation. During the Bush administration, there was No Child Left Behind. That was part of it. And it was that if we deceive people, children, into flooding them with positive feedback, that they will be able to generate an inner strength to accomplish whatever they want. And so, yes, all those memes came from that. If you believe, you can achieve. Well, it's turned out it's all BS, as we're seeing the results from that generation now entering into career fields in the business sector and running things in government and religion. I'm sure all of you know about SNL, Saturday Night Live. Last Saturday's episodes had a clip on a take from Aladdin. And it had Kim Kardashian as Jasmine, and I can't remember the name of the guy, but in a previous segment, the opening segment, when he gets introduced, the audience, you can tell, has a whole bunch of young girls, and they're going wild. They're screaming and wanting sex with him, with female version of catcalls. And that comes from this positive affirmation generation. If you don't know his backstory, it was a couple of years ago back, I think. He had to take time off from SNL. He was having depression and suicidal thoughts. And so the positive generation, when he tried to come back, well, he came back because of the Twitter feeds or whatever it was, of the flooding of positive affirmation for him. And so he came back to SNL, and he came out, told about his depression and suicidal thoughts, and made some jokes about it on his return, and this generation has also self-fulfilled for psychos the need for increased clientele, because it's not just him. This generation of positive affirmation produced a whole bunch of suicidal tendencies. If you're unfamiliar with that band from the 80s, wisdom comes with age if you're able to correctly apply the knowledge that you obtain through your life. And so in this Jasmine skit, the girls who were all sexually excited all of a sudden, no. If you're unfamiliar with the set or the scene, they're talking about sexual stuff as he's with Jasmine, destroying the hearts of all those young women. No, you want me, not Kim. The reason why it fails is because when you are given positive affirmation about any field of science, and then you are set free into the world, you go, yeah, I graduated from such and such, and they hire you, and your job is requiring you to do what you technically failed in school. You're worthless to the company. In fact, you're damaging to the company. You're going to cause harm to the company. And if it's a situation where you fit into the created discriminatory categories, and you hand your business the card, you know, hey, you can't do that. It's against my religious freedom for you to fire me, or my race, or my sex, or sexual orientation, or etc. The company is then being extorted. They need competent people who can do the job, who can improve the revenue of the business. And if you've got a bunch of people who are from the positive affirmation generation who are dumber than bleep bleep, they're going to destroy the economy. And that results in suicides. If you are conditioned to always receiving positive affirmation, you're headed for a big disappointment once you leave that environment and go it alone into the world. I had an experience similar to that, as I would get A's in school and then went to Rick's, A's, until I was not given positive affirmation from Mormon women. And I said, what is the point of any of this? What's forever for? But that's not positive affirmation. That was, why am I spending so much energy in memorizing when it's worthless when I leave school? But going up to a university in Canada, where was a whole reality check. I pursued courses that were dominated by women, feminist teachers, And you can say, well, feminism is the general meaning. No, I'm talking about Nazi femmies. The ones who hate men and want to suppress and discriminate against men so that women can replace men. And it was very clear I was being discriminated against, that I was not allowed to go into those career fields, that they were exclusively for women. And so I had to pursue other avenues for a career. But when it has to do with your feelings, when that support group is gone, when you have come to rely on it to give you inner peace. See, the screen is changing color here. Hold on while when you get into an environment where you don't have it, you're left to yourself, and thus the increase in suicidal thoughts. And what this generation of positive affirmation has done has taken it onto the internet, where you have TikTok and the social media sites that purposely are self-sabotaging for creators with the thumbs up and likes and dislikes. It originally began with products. They're objects. They're not humans. But companies then transferred it over into the human realm, so that now people can judge other people by thumbs ups and thumbs downs. And the generation of positive affirmation is getting crushed as suicides are skyrocketing, because they can't handle the bullying that occurs. Because not only did the positive affirmation generation produce a group that gives positive affirmation where none is deserved, it likewise produces a counter, an antithesis to it, and that of nihilism, just wanting to destroy human life, because they realize positive affirmation is all a bunch of crap. And so they go to the polar extreme to be mean and destructive. And so you've seen this in the Black Lives Matter protest, the Me Too movement, etc., where the movement just explodes, and then you got this antagonistic group that wants to shut it all down. They come in, pose as one of them for the sole purpose of making false accusations and doing destruction to sabotage the group. And it's been successful. It shut down the Me Too movement, it shut down Black Lives Matter protesting, etc. And it's now being called cancel culture, as the dualism dichotomy feeds off of each other on the internet. You have those who force positive affirmation and now have merged with the antagonist group to be a canceling culture. If you do not believe and promote love, positive affirmation, we're going to destroy you. Holy crap. And none of this was supposed to be involved, and psychologists knew this. Like I said, this was a human experimentation on mankind through children, the rising generation. They knew the consequences, they just wanted to see if they can do it on a large scale. Mission accomplished. School was originally intended to be critical thought, as the sciences were supposed to dominate. Religion is not critical thought. It is more in line with that positive affirmation. You know, believe in Jesus, you're saved, you're good. That's where it came from. Psychologists knew this. Psychologists used to be anti-religion, and now they're using religion in their field because they know they can generate a whole bunch more clientele. And so in religion, you see how it matched the positive affirmation with the high rate of suicides. As in religion, it's guilt, shame, and forced obedience, strict obedience. And if you don't do it, then you're evil, you're apostate, you're of the devil, etc. And so you get those who are just, it is impossible to be perfect, and thus you have a generation of religious folk who are self-deprivating, who say, all is lost, it's hopeless, and those who are the antagonists, you know, shout at the devil, all hail Lucifer, as the other extreme. And then you get your atheists, likewise, that emerge from that, all because of the corruption of the religious entities. But science was supposed to be critical thought. You're supposed to develop theories that are supposed to be testable for confirmation or rejection. And religion has attacked science, claiming that critical now is redefined as negative. You know, negative reinforcement. Always trying to prove the church wrong. Sound familiar in the Mormon church? Mormons use those arguments. You're just trying to prove the church wrong. Being critical is not about proving wrong. It's about getting confirmation. But in the pursuit of confirmation, you're going to come up with wrong answers, wrong theories through the tests. And thus, you're supposed to dismiss those theories that do not get confirmed. You're supposed to pursue another theory. This morning, on MSN Microsoft Edge newsfeed, there's now a new theory about the origin of the universe. If you are unfamiliar, religion has creationism. That 4,000 years ago to the day, depending on whether you're Jewish or Christian, because Christian is 4004 BCE, according to the one cardinal or bishop or whoever it was. I think it was Augustine. But there was this Big Bang, that all things were now created by God. The supernatural God created by Constantine. And so then there's the one French priest who then developed the Big Bang Theory. I'm sure there was no conflict with his religion whatsoever. That is unbiased, pure science. Religion would never be involved in the murders of any who would be scientific and preach something contrary to what the church teaches. Right? You know your history? And so then Hubble got the credit for it. But this news feed today came out and said, we've got a new theory, and there is no more Big Bang that starts everything off in the universe. The universe has always existed, according to our theory. It's junk science, even though they're on the right track. They're just not putting in the proper premises to lead to the conclusion. And thus they've got to go back and plug in the correct premises. And so their theory needs to be junked, as well as the Big Bang Theory, because it cannot be tested. Neither of them can be tested. I've always wondered, as critics of Star Wars, as George Lucas had changed the destruction of the Death Star to where it used to be a flaming fire explosion to then just be a wavelength explosion, claiming that, well, space is a vacuum and therefore there can be no fire. All fire is extinguished. Okay, well, let's test that theory. Oh, look, it's daytime. What is that up in the sky? It's a flaming ball of fire that's exploding. People just don't think. So yes, there's lots of others, like the theory of evolution. And people say, well, we can see the confirmation that there is evolution that takes place on a smaller scale. That doesn't mean you can leap to the theory of evolution, that we came from chimps and then from lizards and then fish and then amoebas. There's a missing link for a reason. And because we cannot confirm, we have to dismiss the theory. But they won't. Likewise, in scripture analysis, there are theories behind the creation of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. It was called the documentary hypothesis. And the claim is that there are older source documents that were compiled by a redactor who took the various documents and merged them into one narrative. It's all bunk. It's all, no, wrong. It is not confirmed. But Mormons have done that with the Book of Mormon. But only where they plagiarize the Bible. The critical thought is gone from our society now, as the coronavirus made blatantly obvious. I mean, the generation who are demanding not to wear masks, who are demanding not to stay home and stay safe, who are demanding not to be vaccinated during a viral outbreak that is slaughtering hundreds of thousands in America alone, millions throughout the world, are the same generation that watched 24 on Fox. You know, Jack Bauer. I've been watching that lately. I'm in season 7 now. Was it season 6 or 5 that was the virus outbreak? Can't remember now. But even they knew how to handle a viral outbreak. You quarantine. You don't let them out until they're no longer testing positive. You know, that's part of the critical scientific process, is that you have to test humans to confirm they no longer have the virus. Then you can return them to their regular life. But you get religious people who want free will to be murderers. They don't understand this, and yet they watch 24. They watch the X-Files. They had a virus too, an alien virus. And likewise, they also quarantined such people when they caught them, to prevent the alien virus from infecting and possessing another host. And so how did this all get screwed up? Cancel culture. The positive affirmation, coronavirus is not faith promoting, and therefore we are denying its existence. We are denying it to take over our lives. We're using positive affirmation to cure coronavirus. How's that working? It's not? Go figure. And so yes, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints likewise uses these terms: anti-science, anti-intellectual, faith-promoting, follow us and only us. We have pure truth. And it's not the scientific process. It's religion merged with positive affirmation. And it's destroying the church. The church is lost. After Oaks' talk, it's likely that they've lost 14 million now. Just Mormons who say, enough, I'm out, I want nothing more to do with this. You can't be honest with church history, you're telling us lies, etc. Say, for example, Brigham Young, on his Wikipedia page, is a perfect illustration of how dominant the church is in misinformation and disinformation. As Nelson got up in conference and said, oh, stay away from the news and social media, it's just nothing but misinformation. Okay, under Brigham Young, over on the right, it's got his picture and name above it, and then underneath, Brigham Young, copyright, or circa Copyright. Circa 1870, for when the picture was taken. And then it says, second president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. How many see the problem with that? How many ex-Mormons see the error in this? If you need help, refer to the Community of Christ, Sidney Rigdon's Church of Christ, or historical documents from the Joseph Smith papers, or the scriptures from Joseph Smith. Yes, this is a blatant, bold-faced lie. Brigham Young is not the second president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He's the first. He created the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Sidney Rigdon is the one who carried on Joseph's organization, keeping the name Church of Christ. But unless you do your research, you're going to be led astray by the church, by the prophets, as they tell you, don't have doubts, you got to have faith. It's got to be faith promoting, otherwise you got to dismiss it. They purposely select the lessons for you that are faith promoting, because other scriptures are not faith promoting. They purposely will not put in certain sections for Joseph Smith's talks, like the King Follett Discourse. That was referenced in conference. Where is it in our Doctrine and Covenants? Why aren't they putting it in our Doctrine and Covenants? They're prophets. They can fix it to get it put into Doctrine and Covenants. Why isn't it in the Doctrine and Covenants? Why isn't it canon? It's not faith promoting. That's their deductive reasoning that they won't tell us. 19 July 1840. Not faith promoting. And in 2014, 2015 especially, as the tetrad is going on in the heavens, and 3 Mormon apostles bite the dust, Mormons are going, is this it? Is this finally it? After 200 years, is this it? Is this the latter days? Nope. Not faith promoting. But because of the cancel culture that has permeated the church, you get the antagonists, Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, who can't accept this. He had a near-death experience. Therefore, he knows the prophets are lying. And so, therefore, are fallen. So he's now the new prophet to lead into the millennial reign of peace. And Lori Vallow, oh, you're so wonderful. I want to follow you. Okay, let's cheat on our spouses and have an affair. Oh no, we got to cover it up. They might catch us and expose us. I know, let's murder them. Oh no, our kids are catching on to what's going on. Let's not just murder them, but dismember them and bury them in the backyard of the home in Rexburg, Idaho. Couldn't they just put a thumbs down? Nope. They couldn't. But this is what the positive affirmation generation has done. This is what the psychos have done with their human experimentation on brainwashing and mind manipulations. Because it's taking the church further away from membership. But as the whistleblower informed us, the church no longer needs members to continue to generate money. And now Stevenson wants to go it alone now and become a billionaire. If you saw that news clip on the Salt Lake Tribune or from the video I did yesterday. And so Mormons are leading to destruction, and I can't pull them out. They won't listen. They turn into antagonists and attack, being completely contrary to the doctrine they preach is true, and the only true doctrine on the face of the earth. And yet there they are, doing the complete polar opposite. The dichotomous trap. And Mormons don't see it. They don't care. They demand positive affirmation for their church. They demand to be accepted regardless of the truth. They don't want the real church history because it's not what they've been told by the prophets. And now Nelson is demanding the full name of the church and demanding to be accepted as Christian, when Christians have long since known, no, you're not. If you want to be Christian, get rid of your theology, get rid of your temple with the rituals, get rid of the concept of you guys becoming gods. Embrace Trinity Jesus of Constantine, etc., etc. Do away with the Book of Mormon. Do away with that first vision and speaking with the dead. And then we'll consider taking you in as Christian into our exclusive club. It's just going to lead to more destruction of the church. I wrote the letter to Nelson instructing him as to how to become Christian. I doubt he's going to take my advice, but maybe that's what he's doing, is purging the church of the unworthy, so that only the pure brainwashed, who will be the slaves in the kingdom of God, remain. So I hope that helps you guys see the dangers that are going on right now. Not just in the church, but in our society. I don't see any hope of pulling out. We're heading to a civil war, which is exactly what they want. During Trump's administration, they purposely kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing for war. But liberals just wouldn't do it. They turn the other cheek when it's the MAGA who are the churchgoers. But they're not turning their cheek. They're the ones smiting. It's amazing how easily people are manipulated and controlled. Metallica knew it. Way back in my generation. Master of puppets are pulling your strings, twisting your mind as fast as your dreams.